What's up, everyone? Once some folks get on, please let me know how the sound and picture quality is. For whatever reason, it looks like we're going to have a smaller audience than usual, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It'll be more intimate that way. But let's see. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. I usually am not, but it doesn't seem like not as many people waiting as usual. So the call to action must not have been as enticing as normal. But yeah, please let me know how the sound and picture quality is so I know that everything looks good and sounds good and you can hear me and all that sort of stuff. Jacqueline says hi, Chris. Keith says hi, Chris. Good to see you both. Keith says, how are you? I'm doing good. Jacqueline says both are good. Thank you. K Beauty liked the live. Well, thank you, K Beauty. That's over on TikTok. We'll get started about 5 after. Hopefully, some folks will have shown up by then. I don't know why it's thin today, but that happens sometimes. Loud and clear, says IC. Rod says, howdy. Rod, your question inspired today's topic, just so you know. I saw your comment on the live stream from Monday, and I decided to run with it because I figure it's something a lot of people have interest in. And even if they don't, it's, hopefully the people that do see it will benefit from it. So just wanted to make sure that you knew that I read that and I built today's stream around it. So anyhow, that's about 1 after. We'll get started about 5 after. There is just nobody on today. I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. Sometimes you get Empire Strikes Back. Sometimes you get what's the crappy one? Whatever the next to the last Star Wars movie is. Maybe the time change has something to do with it. Our clocks went back last weekend. Not in America, not that I know of. Podcast says he sent 1.2K likes. Thank you. That means a lot to me. That helps out a lot, I think. Is this like the Andy Elliott no strip? I don't know who that is. But the no strip is called Hostage Tape, and it just helps me breathe easier and it makes me feel better. If you want to check them out yourself, you can go to snapped.io/hostage tape. All one word. Are you in the United States, Jacqueline? I don't think our clocks go back quite yet. But either way, we'll see. But no, I think it's just sometimes the people don't show up and sometimes they don't. It is what it is. And sometimes it'll take a little while. That's why I always waste a little bit of time here in the beginning and then edit that out later. So because there's just there's always a delay for people showing up on time. Rockin Hassan says, hey, I need a pizza. You are on the wrong stream. For those of you that don't know, that's kind of an inside joke here on our stream. Your entire stream is weird colors. It doesn't look like it on my end. So must be something on your end. I'm not sure what to tell you. Maybe exit out and come back in, but looking at it on my end, it looks fine. So I don't know what to tell you beyond that, unless it's an iPhone thing, but it looks fine on my screen. So, but thank you for letting me know. Hey, Chris, can I ask an SEO question? Sure. Yeah, UK only has 4 difference now until clock change. Oh, I see. 4 hours difference. I'm sure that there's some way that they work an unnecessary U into that as well because, UK jokes. Ryan Bennett, Slider, Street Hooligans. What's up, Street Hooligans? All right, we're going to get started in about 1 minute. So if you have any questions at any point, you can put them in the comments, the chat, the whatever it is where you're watching, because we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different platforms because I like attention. But anyway, put those wherever, and I'll get to them at the end because I want to. Once I get started, it's hard to stop and start. Adam says, "From where can I get locally relevant domains to get backlinks to my local business site?" Search. There's a search operator you can use, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but just look for let me answer that later because I'm just most expensive Funko Pop. I think it's the Beavis and Butthead ones I have. I didn't pay for them; they were a gift. but I think that they are worth about $400 a piece. I also have a super rare Voltron one that's like it's about that tall. That's worth like $300 or $400. I don't get them for the money though. I don't need to sell toys to make money. For me, it's just a fun hobby. Adam says, "Thank you." Ask me on DM later, Adam, because I'm just drawing a blank right now. What's up from SF Bay Area? I didn't know that's where you lived. What's up, JP? How many do you have? I lost track because the app, like where you could like scan them and keep track, like locked up on me. But I think I have around 2,000 now, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000. I've actually had to stop buying them because I ran out of room. Interesting. Connection is unstable. That seems unlikely. All right, let's go ahead and get started because it's been a few minutes now. So let me share my screen. If you're watching on TikTok, you're just gonna have to follow along with my voice or go over to YouTube at chrismwalker.tv because you're just not going to be able to see the screen. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out a good way to do that on TikTok. I know that they have a desktop software, but I can't run my camera on both of them at the same time. It causes all kinds of problems. I tried it a couple weeks ago. Paka says I have like 75. Yeah, it got out of control really quickly with me. But you know, it beats some other hobbies. If I'm right, and I can always sell them someday. You know. All right. Today we are going to talk about burnout. And this was from a question in the comments on the stream on Monday who asked me to do a video on this topic. And it was kind of relevant to that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So before we get into talking about burnout specifically, Paka says, got to go. See you. Thanks for watching, my friend. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the feedback. I think we need to define what actually is burnout. And this is something that's important to do with anything that you talk about. And it's something not enough people do is they interpret words to mean whatever they want them to mean, and they make up their own definitions and things like that. And we really need to start getting back to using words the way they are meant. And that way we can actually understand what's going on. So I couldn't find a concrete definition of burnout, but excuse me. But according to the World Health Organization, burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workspace stress that has not been successfully managed. It's characterized by 3 dimensions: feeling of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job. So that's how the World Health Organization defines burnout. It's not perfect in my opinion, but it's pretty close. So how do I see burnout? How do I see burnout? Not how do I see burnout. How does Chris see burnout? The way I see it is this. To me, burnout is when you're forcing yourself to work on something for too long that doesn't invigorate you, doesn't give you a purpose or a reason to continue beyond I need a paycheck or whatever. Basically, it's something that you do it and it drains the energy out of your battery. Everything drains the energy out of your battery, but stuff that invigorates you also recharges it. And that's how I see burnout. We're all capable of doing things that don't suit us, meaning that we're going to have to do shit that we don't like to do sometimes, whether we like it or not, because that's just the way the world works. Or, you know, as every parent ever has said at some point, life's not always fair. But when we do, we use up the energy in our battery a lot faster, so we can't sustain it forever. Meaning that you have to do these things that you don't want to do sometimes or a lot of the time, but you can't do them forever, at least not sustainably. So consider this. Here's an example I can give. Suppose you like video games. I used to like video games. These days I cannot like stick to them, but that's another conversation for another day. But let's say World of Warcraft. I played World of Warcraft back in the day, and it is an extremely difficult, complicated game with a lot of different things you have to learn. And to get really good at it, you're going to have to really invest a lot of time, money, energy, maybe not money, but time, effort, and energy to get good at it and to level up your character and whatever. I barely remember how it works, if I'm being honest, but you can't get burned out playing it, even though it's difficult, because you enjoy it. And I know there's probably people that are going to be out there. Oh, yes, you can. You can get money and you burn out. Yeah, I can't cover every nuance in every sentence and everything I say. So just accept that for the purposes of this example, that you can't get burned out playing it. Now, eventually you will get tired of it, either in a particular session or just after a while of playing it. But when you do, you can just turn it off. However, with a crappy job or a crappy relationship, I shouldn't say crappy, but with a job that doesn't stimulate you, with a not great relationship, or any number of other things, you can't always just turn it off. Like sometimes things are going to suck and it's a big part of your life and you can't just turn it off. You may have a job that was hard to come by that you hate, but you need it in order to pay the bills. So you can't just quit because, ooh, I'm getting burned out, at least not in the short term. So that's when burnout occurs. That's how I see it. Having said that, I think that burnout is overdiagnosed, meaning that, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but basically it's too often people say it, that they are burnt out when they aren't actually burnt out. But so let's talk about burnout as a misdiagnosis. Many people label various emotional and psychological states, disengagement, indecisiveness, avoidance, whatever, as burnout. I just did air quotes again. So I do that. And the thing is that labeling it that way can actually prevent people from addressing underlying issues, meaning burnout feels like this, and it'll make burnout feel like this insurmountable problem without a clear solution, because they've just put the burnout label on it and they're not they're not working on the specific things that are causing it. But just so you know, just because you're tired or you're procrastinating or whatever, it doesn't mean you're burned out, not necessarily. In a lot of cases, people claim that they are burnt out when they just don't want to work at all, or maybe they're lazy, or maybe they've been told by society they need to take a break because they are working too hard, or they're, I don't know, doing things that they shouldn't, or doing too much or whatever, and they take that seriously. There are things that we are going to have to do that we don't like and don't enjoy. That's just the way life works sometimes. But we have to do them anyway. And using burnout as an excuse not to do them isn't going to make you achieve anything. It isn't going to make them go away. It isn't going to make them suck any less. It's just going to help you avoid them if you label them as burnout when you're not actually burnout and you're just avoiding something you don't want to do. So what should you do? I'm going to break this section down into two parts: a short-term ways that you can deal with burnout of things that you like to do or are committed to do, but they get tiresome, and then how to long-term solve burnout. So that's what we've got coming up in the next minute, or well, not in the next minute, in the next few minutes. So first of all, short-term. The first things I try to do to avoid short-term burnout, or in the short term to avoid burnout, are mindset and reframing things. Perceptions shape experiences of stress. The way we perceive things is what causes stress, not necessarily things themselves, with a few exceptions, can't be inherently stressful. It's the way we perceive them. For example, there may, and this is based on a real example of something I had to do this week, but there may be a particular report or paperwork you hate doing for your business every month. You dread it, you put it off, and you only do it when you absolutely have to, and it's piled up for several months on end, and you just can't put it off any longer. I recently experienced that myself. The whole time I'm dreading doing it, and like the insurmountable whatever nature of it just built up in my head to where it got even worse, and I put it off even longer, and it snowballed. Now imagine you have that, and then you have tons of different ones like that. I don't, fortunately, but a lot of people do. That's, if you have that, but multiply that by multiple reports, you are now well on your way to burnout. So what you should do instead is you reframe it. You separate that says empathion, that means emotion. You separate the internal emotion of disliking it from the external action of doing it. What do I mean by that? I mean that you have labeled this as something that you dislike doing. And you dislike the action of filling in this report and gathering the data and putting it together and doing it. But you need to separate the dislike, which is the emotion, from the external action, which is the actual doing it, and reframe it as a necessary thing that will give you a reward of some kind. So if you associate it with discomfort and pain and something you don't like doing, you're going to continue to put it off. It's going to build up, and it's going to lead to burnout. But if you reframe it as a way of a thing that gives you a reward, then it will no longer contribute to your burnout. So continuing that example, and maybe once you have that report, you can build a new tool or a new task or a new process or a new hire, excuse me, or something else based on the data it gives you, and that you can then use to move your business forward or move your project forward or spend, be able to do it less often or whatever, but associate a good outcome with doing it. And that pain that from dreading it will go away, and then it won't contribute to your burnout. It won't build up. It won't become this terrible thing in your head. It'll become this good thing, because when it's done, you get to have this great reward. Think about it when you're a kid, right? If you had good parents, they would make you eat your vegetables because vegetables are good for you. And then if you ate all your vegetables, you got some candy or dessert or whatever. It's kind of the same risk, or this kind of the same task reward type of setup. Is if you reframe it as a positive thing that will get you a reward, it won't stress you out and it won't contribute to burnout. So you can reframe it in that way and actually benefit from it rather than dread it and put it off. So, not to get off on a rant, but like that child example doesn't work anymore. I had someone I used to know who worked at a daycare, and if the kids behaved all day, they got candy at the end of the day. So instead of rewarding them for doing something else, we were rewarding them for doing what they're supposed to. But don't get me started. Anyhow, so some other things that you can do are to make incremental changes over time rather than going to making extreme changes. And this is something I find, whether it's related to burnout or other things, and I'll cover that in a minute, but people often swing between overworking and working all the time and then pulling back too drastically and doing nothing. It's like, you can't see me right now, but it's basically this huge up and down spikes rather than this line with slight bumps in it. So instead of going to one extreme or the other, make simple adjustments, take breaks, shift your work hours slightly. Maybe you get up a little later and work a little later. Maybe you get up a little earlier and stop a little bit earlier. Maybe you delegate some of the tasks that you don't like, that you can delegate to someone else. Whatever it is, you can do any of these little tweaks that will decrease the amount of burnout cumulatively, or the amount of stress cumulatively, and make you more refreshed and more likely to do the work. This can prevent overwhelm without needing huge radical lifestyle changes. And I said this applies to everything, or not everything, but a lot of things. And another great example is when people are out of shape or unhealthy and they decide they want to get in shape and get healthy, they'll make huge lifestyle changes in many areas all at once. They'll decide they're only eating 1,500 calories a day, and they're going to work out 2 hours a day and walk 15,000 steps and they're going to make all these changes all at once, and it's too much. What they should do is slightly reduce the amount of calories every day until they get to a level they can maintain, and it doesn't feel like a huge shock to the system. Then you add another one and you add another one. So incremental changes, and I know that's hard particularly for entrepreneurs who tend to be very type A personality and want to swing for the fences, but science and experience have both shown this to be true, that establishing small sustainable habits, such as like clarity breaks where you just sit and you think and you clear your head, or setting boundaries to where you only work in certain hours or people can only come talk to you in certain hours, and engaging in energizing activities. Maybe you have, I don't know, maybe you play a level of Candy Crush or something on your phone. That's not a great example because that's a dopamine addiction, but something that re-energizes you so you can get back to work. Things like that, like small incremental changes and small tweaks to your process rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I never understood that expression, but I'm not good with analogies. But so instead of like reinventing the whole thing, just make small incremental changes over time rather than going to huge extremes. Another one is decision making and avoidance. Avoiding tough decisions or conflicts or things that you don't want to do drains your energy and builds what I call, well, I don't know if it's what I call, but what is called low level anxiety. And low level anxiety tends to be mistaken for burnout. Low level anxiety are things that nag at you and nag at you and nag at you because you don't like them, and they're uncomfortable and they're unpleasant and they're always just kind of there. You know what I mean? It's like that report I talked about in the beginning. For months, I put off doing this, and it's like always nagging at me a little bit in the back of my head. And if that was a bigger thing, and I wasn't as familiar with all of this stuff, I might have mistaken that for burnout when it's really just low level anxiety, all because I've been putting off doing something difficult or avoiding a conflict or whatever. And Instead of avoiding those things, just confront them, deal with them, and get them done. And then they go away. Like, how many times have you put something off for a long time and then you got it done and you felt so much better? Now, imagine if you'd just done that in the beginning, all the time feeling stressed and anxiety, you would have gotten rid of. And that's kind of the next point is facing challenges directly and seeking clarity helps maintain your energy and prevents the slow buildup of stress that leads to feeling of burnout. Throughout this whole thing, I want you to picture a battery and the things that cause everything that causes your battery to empty, but things that are beneficial help recharge it as well, and things that aren't drain it. And if you drain it and you can't refill it, then you burn out. So keep that picture in your head throughout the rest of the things I say. So facing your challenges and getting past them and seeking clarity on them helps maintain your energy, slows the use of it, and will help you build it back up rather than doing things, letting it go and letting it drain it. So hopefully that makes sense. You need to take inventory of your thoughts and your tasks. Regularly reflecting on your thoughts has been a big one for me. Like, why am I thinking about this? Why, of all the things that I could be focused on right now, is this the one that I'm giving power to? Is it going to empty my battery or is it going to charge it? Same with your tasks, and same with your tasks. Is this something that is going to help me get to a better place or put me in a worse place? So regularly reflecting on thoughts and tasks to ensure alignment with goals prevents misalignment and unnecessary energy drain. See how we're continually talking about energy drain? By paying attention to what you're thinking and what you're doing, you can align them with your goals and then use that to charge the battery rather than drain the battery. You can visualize problematic thoughts as like catching fish. And I got this, I think, from Alex Hermosi, or it could be somebody else. I'm not sure. But it's not an original. So just, accept that. But, if a bad thought pops up, catch it, identify it, and either address it or reframe it, which will mitigate the stress and improves it. So that thought pops up, you catch it, and you identify what's going on there, and you reframe it like we talked about with reframing, or you address the issue to make that thought go away because now you've dealt with that problem, and that will lower the stress and lower the rate at which your battery empties, and maybe even provide you some more mental clarity and charge the battery a little bit more. All of this is great. But it's also a bit hypothetical. Somebody on on TikTok says, "Hello, friend. Just chimed in. What's going on? Not much today. We're talking about burnout. Thank you for watching, Stephen." Let's see. So these are more practical things you can do. Simple adjustments to help you prevent overwhelm without doing those extreme changes. So, for example, you can do shorter meetings. I think this is a big one. These like 1 and 2 and 3 hour meetings, there's almost nothing that requires meeting that long. I say almost nothing. Again, I can't possibly cover every single contingency in every sentence on every slide. So bear with me on those sorts of things. Again, delegate minor tasks, little things like, checking your email or responding to like 1 sentence emails, or posting the blog that you've written, things like that, little things that other people can do that don't suck up your energy and don't suck up your time and keep you from feeling overwhelmed because there's less things on the list in front of you and you can just focus on the big things. Take mini breaks throughout the day to recharge without losing momentum. For example, right before this stream, I was telling my executive assistant that I was feeling tired or sleepy and I needed to get a little bit of energy going to start the stream. So I just stopped for a minute. I went and I did, I don't know what they're called, but I put my feet on the couch and then I got my hands on the ground and I do push-ups, and I did like 10 of those and the energy shot right back up. It took me just a few minutes, but that little bit of break and that little bit of time to recharge helped me gather the energy I needed to do this presentation, which I love doing these. So I just needed that little bit of a kickstart, and little breaks like that and little tasks like that can really break things up and stop the battery from emptying and maybe even charge it up a little bit. Same with delegating minor tasks, especially like minor pain in the ass tasks. Like a good example is, I don't do this, I have an accountant, but if you do your own books, you have to like code all the different things that you spend. And that's a huge pain in the butt. So get somebody else to do that. And then again, the shorter the meeting, the better. And that's also good for your business because it just makes you more effective. It makes you more lethal. Another thing you can do is a 10-minute clarity check. So what you can do is, and I encourage all of you to do this either now or after the stream, is go make a list of like as many small changes you can make to your daily routine, to things that cause you stress or whatever, that will only take 10 minutes or less to implement, and then start implementing one of them every day and see how it impacts your stress, your burnout, and how quickly your battery empties or recharges. So just take a few minutes and write a list of every little thing that you can think of to do. Doesn't matter how silly it is. Nobody else has to see it. Just write it all out or put it in your phone, whatever you prefer. And then starting tomorrow, just do one of them a day. And then the next day, do that one and another one, and just keep doing that. And I bet you'll be stunned at how much of a difference that makes. So those are some things, some simple little things you can do to help you get through doing the things that we all have to do, that we may not like to do, that end up leading to at least part of burnout. But long term, burnout is a whole different animal. Let me get some water real quick and we'll continue. Forgive me, this is my second live stream of the day, so my voice is a pony. Get it? It's a little horse. Boom, boom. My name is Mud. It just joined on TikTok. I love that song. So true burnout is not the stuff that we've been talking about so far. True burnout comes from not working on fulfilling pursuits. So what I mean by that, everything we've talked about so far are short-term remedies for daily burnout. In other words, the burnout you get from doing the things that we all have to do, that we hate, that pile up and cause low-level anxiety and eventual burnout, or just long-term low-level anxiety that gets mistaken for burnout. But true burnout comes from perpetually doing something that empties the battery and can never truly fill it. So what I mean by that, you are, all right, I'm going to use myself as an example. The last day job I had was a level 1 tech support job for, I guess you call them a real estate developer. And I was just completely hated the work that I was doing. And nothing against the company or the people there, but the work was just draining to me. And it was never rewarding, and it was never able to fill the battery back up. So I was burnt out because I had no passion for what I was doing. I had no interest in what I was doing. I was doing just enough not to get fired. And I mean, just enough. I had conversations with multiple supervisors. And that's what real burnout is when you're doing something that drains the battery and can never refill it. No matter how many of those little tweaks that I gave you earlier can you do. So if you have, for example, and this is the example I already gave, if you have a job that you hate, you're going to burn out eventually, no matter how much you manage it, no matter how many of these little hacks or tweaks or things that you do to mitigate it and to reduce it. You can't, what's the expression? You can't fight the current or something like that. Eventually it's going to win. If you hate what you do and it's unfulfilling, eventually it's going to cause you to burn out because you're not doing something that fulfills you. Same goes with relationships. Raise your hand if you've ever had a bad relationship that it felt like it was sucking the life out of you and didn't support you and who you want to be. If you have one of those, you are eventually going to burn out. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Relationships are a huge part of our life. And if they aren't in alignment with who we are and what we do and what we want to achieve, they are going to burn you out. So don't let that be you. Another one is one that people don't talk about a lot, but it's important, is if you live somewhere that you aren't comfortable and don't feel welcome and don't feel at home and don't feel like you belong and don't get along with the people there and don't like the things that place offers, eventually you're going to burn out. You can't fight it. You have to be somewhere that you are welcome and comfortable and happy and loved and so on. So this one doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. It's one that I'm dealing with myself at the moment, if I'm being perfectly transparent with you. But yeah, so that's another one, that if you live somewhere that you aren't comfortable and feel welcome, eventually you're going to burn out. You get the idea. Long-term things that have a big impact on your life, if you are not in alignment, if they are not in alignment with who you are and what you want to be, you are going to burn out. Now, these things may not be immediately evident. One thing that we as human beings have is an amazing pain tolerance. we can get used to something being painful to the point that it becomes comfortable and well known. And we just think that's the way it is. And that's the way it has to be. And we accept that as our reality. So it's going to take some analysis and reflection and a hard conversation with yourself on if you are truly burnt out, what the source of that burnout, and there's another typo in my presentation, what the source of that burnout is, and if you have truly burnt out or if it's just low level stress. So, make sure that you get that right too. But like I say, after you're going to have to really analyze the things going on in your life and see what it is. I know people that, we'll get to that in the next slide. If you're truly burnt out or you're on a path to it, you have got to make some long-term, systemic, huge, massive, life-altering changes, or it's just not going to get better no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you try to wish it away, no matter how much you want that relationship to work, no matter how much you wish that job was what you wanted, whatever it is, no matter how long you've lived where you live, no matter what it is, if it's the overall source of your long-term burnout, you got to make those changes as hard as it's going to be. Maybe you'd be happier in a different job, even if it's a different job that paid less. I'm sure we've all heard stories like that, I was making so much more at my old job, but I'm so much happier now. That might be the change that you have to make. Maybe you need to go into business for yourself. If that's you, maybe if you're never going to be happy in any job. That was certainly the case for me. Until I was never happy. I hated all the jobs I ever had. Even the ones that weren't bad jobs, but until I went into business for myself, I think on some level, I always knew I needed to do that. And I just didn't know how, or didn't accept it or whatever. Or maybe you shouldn't be in business for yourself at all. And you should get a job. Not everyone is cut out to be a business owner, entrepreneur, or self-employed, or whatever label you want to put on it, because anybody that's done it can tell you it is extremely stressful at times. It is not always fun. It is not always Gary V, Instagram, hustle, whatever nonsense. Sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's whatever. And some people can't handle that. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's you, you shouldn't be in business for yourself. You should go get a job. So that might be the decision you have to make. Maybe it's time to break up with that guy or gal that is ruining your life. Maybe I know that's tough. Maybe you have a long history together. Maybe it's your high school sweetheart. Maybe you moved across the country or the world to be with that person. Maybe you have kids with that person. But if it's causing you to burn out, that's not going to change no matter how hard you try. You should try, don't get me wrong. But eventually you're going to have to accept that this isn't the person that you're with. They don't support your goals. And that doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means they're not the right person for you. And if they don't support your goals and who you want to be and who you are, and they empty your battery rather than recharge it, you can't fix that. So there might be time to move on to someone else or be alone for a while. Maybe that city you lived in your whole life isn't for you anymore. It might be that's where your family and your friends are, but if you're not at home and in your home, if you're not comfortable, if you're not happy, if you're not supported, if you're not loved, if they don't have the right type of food that you like, whatever it is, that place that you live might not be for you. And if it's not, you need to look at that and maybe accept that and take maybe it's time to move somewhere else. Again, I know that's easier said than done. Mark just joined. What's up, Mark? But that's what it's going to take sometimes. Look, the long-term solution to burnout is to optimize your life for the things that mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually charge your battery, and don't deplete it. See how we've been talking about that for the whole stream or so? I think we've run about 35 minutes or so, 30 minutes. That's the thing, is you have to do things that charge the battery and only slightly deplete it, because everything you use energy on depletes it. But the things that reward you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, they charge it as well. And they charge it at a greater rate than they deplete it. Nothing is going to fix true burnout. Nothing else is going to fix true burnout. And nothing can stop it if you are doing things that empty the battery faster than you can charge it. It's only a matter of time. It's not a matter of when. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. So if you are doing the things that we've talked about, you're going to have to figure out, you're going to have to make those big changes. And I know, don't get me wrong, I know just start a business that you love is easier said than done. I know that sounds like an Instagram post. and that people oversimplify. But the thing is, it may take time to make these moves that you need to make to reverse burnout. But the thing is, you have two options. You can either have the pain of working to change your state and your situation and avoid that pain and burnout, or you can have the pain of burnout. The first one, the pain of making big lifestyle changes, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, or ending a job or relationship, or moving somewhere. Those are painful, but it's temporary pain. Once you get it done, it's done, and then you can start reaping the benefits and recharging the battery. The second one is not. If you're doing things that long-term burn you out, you don't make these changes, that's never going to get better. You're going to stay in pain until you do. The first leads to you flourishing and unlocking your full potential as a person, as a business, as a partner, as a community member, as a member of society, for whatever it is that you do. The second leads to nothing but misery. So to me, I think the choice is obvious. I think you need to spend that time talking to yourself, looking at the things that are causing you to burn out, assess if you're actually burning out, and then make the changes. Reassess your life. If you find that you're truly burnt out or on a path to it, identify the causes and start making plans to solve those causes, whether that means starting a business or quitting a business or quitting a job or starting a job or dumping somebody or breaking up with someone. That sounds nicer. Or maybe it means moving across the country or the world. Whatever it is, figure out what that is. And if you're truly burning out, then make those changes, get them done, get through the pain of doing them, and then start living up to your full potential, because you're going to be so much happier, so much better off, so much more productive, so much more lethal to the world, and help so many more people. And we're all going to be better off for it when you do too. So that's kind of what I got on the topic of burnout. It's ultimately assessing if it's short-term burnout from just doing things you don't like that you have to do. I gave some practical, at least I hope they were practical tips on how to address that. But long-term burnout is the only way you get out of that is making long-term changes to the things that you're working on or doing or living or who you're with. If you want some further reading, I'll go ahead and stick these in the chat in just a second here. There's some blogs that my wonderful executive assistant found on the Legit blog that will help you as well. And like I said, I'll drop those in the chat here in a second. And that's pretty much what I got. If you have any questions, let me know. Let me know how you enjoyed that. And let me know if you are experiencing some burnout symptoms yourself, and maybe we can talk through them and see what I can do. So I'm going to see what we have for questions. Thanks a lot. Village Roofing and Construction says he played the S out of World of Warcraft 14 years ago. The game I like to play, pay is to get people to pay me for my services. Money is a real reward for replaying the game. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people, there's a lot of people that want to act like money is a bad thing and making money is something you shouldn't be proud of or whatever. Now, working merely for money, that's a whole different story. But yes, money is a reward in the sense that it gives you things you can do, but also just the transference of money is a great reward too. Aaron says he played the S out of WoW 15 years. I wonder if you're the same person as Village Roofing and Construction. What's up, Aaron? Good to see you. Smart Daddy says, I agree. Environment and people surrounding you definitely help. Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're miserable where you are, or maybe you've just gotten everything out of what you of where you currently live and there's nothing else to get out of it, it's time to move. I'm experiencing that myself. I've lived here where I live pretty much all of my life, not the entire time, but most of my life. Man, shitty attendance today. But I'm thinking it's time for a change. So I get that one myself. Used to love where I live, but things have changed both in my life and the area over the last 10 years, and it no longer fits. I'll be moving in 2025. So will I. That's I'm glad that you realized that, and I'm glad that I realized that. Jason Johnson. I think I know you, Jason. How's it going? Tachi says, hi, Chris. Hello, Tachi. Alex, what's up, Alex? At the beginning, I thought I was burned out, but now I just need to face some conflicts. Well, that's a good thing. I mean, I know it's hopefully that hopefully I helped you with that. I'm glad to know that you see that because sometimes we write it off as burnout, but really what it is just low level stress that can be addressed. You know what I mean? Like make that one problem go away and the battery starts to fill up again. Raw says, thank you, Chris. 99% of my job I love, but it's that 1% that's a bear. Yeah. And there's going to be 1% things. You know what I mean? There's not everything is going to be, what's the expression? Rainbows and butterflies. Jason says, all right, brother, you do. How are you? I'm doing good. Thank you, Jason. Smart Daddy says, I feel that stress doesn't only come from having too much to do, but mostly from not being able to finish the things that were started. Yeah, that's a management problem. Like that means that you are either taking on too many things or you're not taking on priority things or you're not delegating right. For the most part, I would need some specific examples to address them. But yeah, that sounds more like a logistics or a problem that can be solved, rather than a burnout problem. And I'm not saying it's not a problem because it is, but that's something that can be solved by either getting more help or taking on less things or prioritizing your time or whatever. So yeah, I agree. And that's the good thing about that one is it's easily diagnosed and I don't want to say easily fixed, but at least easily diagnosed and coming up with a solution too. I try to check even the smallest accomplishments every day and it works amazing for me too. Yeah, there's a what's the well, it's a dopamine thing, right? It's a reward, risk or a reward, action reward type of thing. Just checking something off a list will give you a bit of a reward. If you're watching on TikTok, can you send me a rose or a diamond or whatever it is? I'd really appreciate that. I don't know why, but apparently it helps me get more reach. So thank you. If you don't mind. I don't know how that works though. But yeah, exactly. Like checking off accomplishments, even no matter how small, will get. It's like that. Make your bed in the first thing in the morning thing. That was it. Was it General McCraven that gave that speech? It's that kind of thing. Hello, boss. What's up, Nafis? What's up, Devin? Before burning out, you got to stand up face to face with the biggest stressors. Burning out, it feels a large part avoidance of stressors. Keep stress low, and it's hard to burn out. Yeah, exactly. Like I covered that earlier. Like the biggest ones are the ones you have to like deal with. Oh, Jesus Christ. Are the ones you really have to deal with long term. But the little ones you can like knock so many of those off your plate that you can really make it easier to focus on the big ones. But yeah, a lot of people and I gave a specific example of this, will avoid things rather than dealing with them. And avoidance doesn't work long term. So you have to deal with things. So yeah, dealing with them rather than avoiding them will help a lot. Oh, come on, man. That's not what we're talking about today. I don't really care if you get ID verified or not. All right, it's about 4:43. We have we'll stick around for another few minutes if there's more questions or anything like that. So let me know. JP says analysis paralysis is very common too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm planning to get started on that thing this week, this month, this year, tomorrow. But I still got to figure out my website, my this, my that. Like, just shut up and do it. I run into this with like when I do consulting and people ask how to get more clients. One of the things I always tell them is to do more YouTube, literally what I'm doing right now. And they're always like, well, what I know, I got to get this and I got to get that. I was like, just turn your camera on and start talking. You know what I mean? Like figure it out. Yeah. Get better as time goes on, but just turn your camera on and start talking. You're going to make TikTok a priority now. It's going to be bigger than folks imagine. I don't know. I don't know how to make it work, to be honest. I've tried several times. I'm just doing these live streams, so it's not any harder to throw it on TikTok as well. I don't know, maybe these days. Or maybe one of these days. Jacqueline says, thanks, Chris. This has been very helpful. Why, thank you, Jacqueline. Always a pleasure to see you. JP says another great term is hedonic treadmill. I'll have to look into that one. I'm not familiar with it. Smart Daddy says, I love this episode. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, Smart Daddy. Thank you for the feedback, too. I don't want to keep doing things if people don't find them beneficial. So, I don't know. I guess the end of that sentence is thank you for letting me know that you did find it beneficial. Not a big turnout today. I'm not quite sure why. I sent an email. It must not have been intriguing enough or something. I don't know. but not every song's a hit. But I'm glad that the people that are here are getting value from it, because this was requested by one of the people in the comments of the last video. So that's that. I've done a couple mindset type things this week. Maybe I'll do, I don't know, mindset's not really the right word, but I don't know, soft skill type of things. Maybe we'll do something tactical tomorrow. Earlier, I was on the Otis Global podcast with Vlad and John Ross. So that was fun. That's why my voice is all shot, because I've done 2 of these today. Yeah. But anyway, it's 1:45. We'll go for another minute or 2, because there's still a good, 45 to 50 people on. Although most of those are on Twitter, so I don't know how many of that is real. I feel like that number is always inflated for some reason. But if you have any more questions on this or most anything else, let me know. Let me see if I missed any over on Facebook, because it doesn't always notify me. Doesn't look like it. All right, we're going to let it go another 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'm going to wrap it up and call it a day. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor and subscribe and turn on notifications. It helps me, just helps motivate me and helps keep me going, and helps the channel grow as well, which is good for all of us and everything involved. So I'd appreciate that. If you're not watching on YouTube and you wouldn't mind, just go over to chrismwalker.tv, and that will get you a 1-click subscribe to YouTube as well. So I don't know, I would appreciate it. I'm told that if I ask for that, I'm more likely to get it. I've never seen any evidence that supports that, but it can't hurt to ask anyway. So, all right, we got about 3 minutes left. Any last minute thoughts, comments, or questions, any topic suggestions? I'm open to all of that. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up in about 3 minutes. I don't like to need to get a little more abrupt with the end of these things, but I also like to give people a chance to get their thoughts out. So live streams are different than like recorded videos in that way. Another thing you can do, digital skills tips, is learn how to spell legit correctly. All right. See if there's any over on Instagram. All right. Wasn't expecting that, but okay. Instagram has like the shittiest engagement by far. All right. Nobody seems to be talking, so we're going to go ahead and call it a day. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with another live stream of some kind or other. Hey, Rod says, I hate administrative work. Yeah, we all do. You know what you do there is you get somebody to do it for you. You have a pretty good business as far as I know. So just grab someone and, hire someone inexpensively. Get a good VA. We have a good VA category on Legit that can help you out. Get them to do it for you. It'll take some time, but get that off your plate. That's a low-level stressor that you can remove. So you've already identified one. So, there you go. So hopefully that helps. Alex says, Chris, thanks for the message today. Thank you, Alex. The message about burn. Yeah, I knew what you meant. All right. What's up, James? James just joined on TikTok. Unfortunately, I'm about to peace out, but always good to see you, James Gregory. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know what the topic is or the time, but we will be here. I'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Peace.